Welcome to Wise Life After 60. So grateful to have you here. You feel it before you can explain it. The silence, the distance, that subtle shift in energy that doesn't make noise, yet changes everything. One day he is present, engaged, leaning into the connection as if it matters, and then without warning something pulls back, not completely gone, but not quite there either, just enough absence to make you question what changed. Was it something I said, something I didn't say, something I missed in that moment that seemed so ordinary at the time? Why does someone move closer, only to create distance again? Why does connection feel steady one day and uncertain the next? These are not new questions. They are questions many people carry, especially after they have lived long enough to recognize that patterns in relationships rarely happen by accident. Today's video, we're exploring that shift. We're revealing the deeper behaviors that change how connection unfolds, not through effort, not through persuasion, but through a quiet change in presence. A way of being that does not try to control the outcome, yet influences it more than anything else. Before we continue, tap that like button and subscribe to Wise Life After 60, because here we take time to understand the deeper side of relationships, the part that is not always visible, but always felt. Let us begin with the first idea. A behavior that may seem simple, yet quietly determines whether someone drifts further away or begins to find their way back. 1. The calm that doesn't chase. There is a moment in every connection when distance appears, not loudly, not dramatically, but in a way that is just enough to be felt. A delayed message, a shorter reply, a shift in tone that is difficult to name but impossible to ignore. And in that moment, something inside you begins to move. This is where most patterns begin to repeat themselves. Because the natural response to distance is to close it, to reach out, to clarify, to bring things back to where they felt steady and certain, comes from a place of care, from a desire to understand, from the instinct to protect something that once felt real. But there is another layer beneath this instinct, one that is less visible but far more influential. The moment you begin to chase even subtly, the dynamic changes. What was once a shared space becomes something slightly imbalanced. One person moves forward, the other begins to step back. This is where calm becomes something powerful. Not the kind of calm that hides feeling, but the kind that holds it without reacting to it immediately. When you do not rush to close the distance, when you allow the moment to exist without trying to control it, something subtle begins to shift. The space that was created is no longer something you are resisting, it becomes something you are allowing, and in that allowance the energy changes. There is also something else that begins to take shape in this moment, a quiet respect. Not the kind that is asked for, but the kind that is felt. When you do not react impulsively, when you do not move to fix or control every shift, it signals something deeper, that your sense of self is not dependent on immediate response, that you are not trying to hold on at any cost, and that steadiness becomes something that is noticed, even if it is not spoken. 2. The energy that doesn't need to be explained. When you stop trying to explain yourself in every moment, something begins to shift. Not because you are withholding, but because you are no longer placing your sense of stability in the hands of another person's immediate response. There is a difference between being open and being overly available, just as there is a difference between expressing yourself and trying to be understood at all costs. When everything is explained too quickly, when every silence is filled, there is little space left for the other person to feel, to reflect, or to move toward you on their own. Emotional energy has a way of being felt, even when it is not spoken. When you are calm, grounded, and not reacting impulsively, that energy carries through in ways that are difficult to describe but easy to sense. The other person begins to notice that something is different. You are not pulling, not chasing, not trying to define the moment, and in that absence of pressure, their own awareness begins to rise. They begin to feel the space they created more clearly because it is no longer being managed for them. Many people underestimate the role of this kind of presence. They believe that connection must be maintained through constant communication, through reassurance, through staying engaged at all times, but experience often reveals something else. When a person is allowed to sit with their own thoughts without being guided or reassured, they begin to process the connection in a deeper way. They begin to remember what they felt, rather than simply responding to what is being said in the moment. If this resonates with something you have experienced, you are invited to share your story in the comments. There is value in these moments even when they are difficult to understand at the time, and hearing them can help others see their own situations with greater clarity. 3. The space that makes him feel it. The experience of you is no longer immediate. It becomes something that has to be remembered rather than responded to. And memory has a way of shaping feeling in a deeper, more reflective way than constant interaction ever could. A person begins to replay moments, to revisit conversations, to notice details that were not fully processed in real time. This is where emotional weight begins to form, not through intensity, not through repeated effort, but through absence that creates awareness. When someone no longer feels your energy constantly, they begin to notice what it felt like when it was there. The tone of your voice, the way you responded, the sense of calm or ease you carried. These impressions, which may have seemed ordinary in the moment, begin to take on a different meaning when they are no longer immediately available. Over time, this creates a shift in how the connection is experienced. You are no longer just part of an ongoing interaction. You become part of a memory that carries feeling, and feeling, when it is formed in this way, does not disappear easily. It lingers. It returns. It shapes future choices in ways that are not always logical but deeply human. This does not mean withdrawing completely or creating distance as a form of control. It means recognizing that space has its own role in connection. It allows what is real to surface without interference. It allows the other person to come to their own understanding rather than being guided toward it. 4. The strength of not needing immediate answers. There is a quiet kind of strength that reveals itself in moments of uncertainty, and it often goes unnoticed because it does not announce itself in any visible way. It is the ability to remain steady when things are unclear, to sit with questions without rushing to resolve them, and to allow a situation to unfold without needing immediate certainty. When someone pulls away even slightly, the natural response is often to seek answers. What does this mean? Where is this going? Is something changing that needs to be addressed right now? These questions feel urgent, and the urge to resolve them can feel almost impossible to ignore. But there is something deeper that begins to happen when you resist that urgency, not by suppressing your thoughts, but by choosing not to act on them immediately. When you allow a question to exist without demanding an answer, you create a space where something more meaningful can emerge. You are no longer reacting to the moment. You are observing it, and that shift, though subtle, changes everything. When a man senses that you are not seeking constant reassurance, that you are not trying to define the connection at every turn, it creates a different kind of dynamic. There is less pressure, less expectation, and more room for him to process his own thoughts without feeling that he must provide clarity before he is ready. And in that space, something often begins to move in the opposite direction. Instead of pulling further away, he begins to lean back in, not because he is being asked to, but because the absence of pressure allows his own interest to surface more naturally. If you have ever experienced a moment where stepping back from the need for immediate clarity allowed something to resolve itself more naturally, you may already recognize this pattern. You are invited to share your experience in the comments, because these moments often hold insight that is difficult to see while they are happening, but become clear in reflection. 5. The presence he remembers when you're gone. Over time, it becomes clear that people do not hold on to everything. They forget conversations, they forget times, they forget the sequence of events, but they rarely forget how they felt when they were with someone. That feeling becomes a quiet reference point, something the mind returns to without effort. And when that feeling is grounded, calm, and real, it carries a weight that does not disappear simply because distance has been created. This is where everything begins to come together. The calm that did not chase, the energy that did not need to be explained, the space that allowed reflection, the patience that did not demand answers. All of these created something beneath the surface. They created an experience that was not forced, not controlled, not shaped by urgency, and because of that, it becomes something that stands apart from other interactions that may have felt more immediate but less lasting. This does not guarantee that every person returns. It is not about certainty or control. It is about creating something that cannot be easily replaced. And when that happens, the decision to come back is no longer something that is influenced from the outside. It becomes something that arises from within, from a recognition that what was felt before is not something that can be recreated in the same way elsewhere. And perhaps this is why certain people return, not because they were asked to, but because something in them continues to move toward what felt real, not because it was perfect, but because it was genuine. And in a world where so much feels uncertain, that kind of experience becomes something worth returning to. As we come to the end of this reflection, something begins to settle into place, not as a dramatic realization, but as a quiet understanding that feels familiar the moment you recognize it. What brings someone back is rarely what we try to do in the moment they pull away. It is not found in the extra message, the careful explanation, or the attempt to restore what once felt certain. More often, it is shaped by what we allow to happen when we choose not to react in the same way we always have. When you stop chasing, when you stop trying to close every gap immediately, the pattern itself begins to shift. And if you found value in this time together, don't forget to like and subscribe to Wise Life After 60. Here, we continue to explore the deeper patterns of life relationships and human connection.